you kind of got to have a good stomach. Doesn't have to be great, but there's some things you'll see, especially slaughter.
Yeah.
It's gross. There's meat cutters and then there's butchers.
You guys have a restaurant too?
Yeah. I get a lot of questions about how to cook stuff. And so I've cooked probably everything on an animal 10 times over. For the first 2 weeks that I did this, my hands hurt so bad.
Do butchers get tipped?
I get this quite a bit. That just because I butcher, that I like enjoy death. The only time that cow leaves us is when you buy it.
Oh.
So there's no middleman with us.
What are ways that someone could get educated in this space?
As long as people are eating meat, somebody's got to cut it up. Somebody's got to process it.
Ethan, thanks for coming on the podcast. We're on the Where to Get Started podcast. You're a butcher.
Yeah.
When we started this podcast, this was not a role that came up as like, what do kids want to do when they grow up? And like, what are the things that it's like taking a really sharp knife and cutting up a bunch of meat wasn't something that we ever thought of, right?
Sure. But it is a job that like, a lot of people actually do.
Yeah.
And it is like a significant job that, people, it's like when you grow up, it's like you see the firemen, you see the teachers, and you see whatever, but like you don't see what happens before the food gets to your table, right? In many cases, you just kind of see the food at the table and you don't realize the work that goes into getting it to your table in some cases.
Right. Or even like you go to the store, it's like, I want a steak.
There it is.
You go to the store, it's like, there it is. But then what are the things before that? And often every single time I have not had a single like butcher that I've gone to that when I get a meat cut from a butcher, I'm not like, oh, that was gross. The store was better. It's almost always that the butcher was better than the store.
Yeah.
Every time. So I think, Ethan, to focus on you a little bit, being a butcher, how did you get into this? Like, what made you want to decide to like, I want to cut up meat for a living?
I never planned on it growing up, but backing up a little bit, I was always a big food guy. Growing up. That was something I was always interested in, cooking, things like that. And so I started, my first job was, I want to say I was 14. I worked for a catering company, and I did that all the way through high school, until really, I think about 8 years I did that on and off. And so that was a really good job for me, and it kind of got me introduced to like the culinary aspect of things. And so did that for a long time. And then my senior year of high school, I picked up a job at a barbecue restaurant. Working the meat block there. So cool. I was doing cooked product, briskets, pulled pork, things like that. And so that's kind of where I got started into meat. And then after I graduated, I actually went and lived in South Dakota for a year, went to school there, spent some time there. And then I, for a couple of reasons, decided to come back home, and I just needed a job. So I didn't really I had no plans. I was still in school. I was just kind of figuring, I was 19, just trying to figure out what you're doing. And so I picked up a job over at Harmon's Grocery.
Love Harmon's.
Yeah, Harmon's is great. I love them. Good job. So I was just learning like basic retail cuts, doing like pre-prepped meals, things like that. And so I worked for them for about a year. Kind of got a little bit bored of it.
Sure.
And I wasn't like there was growth potential there, but it wasn't really like the growth that I was looking for. It wasn't like the hours and the lifestyle. It wasn't really what I was looking for. And so I started looking outside, and I really enjoyed cutting and butchering, and I kind of got into it, went down this YouTube rabbit hole. I don't know if you know who the Bearded Butchers are.
No, I don't.
Look them up online. They're like one of the biggest, probably the biggest.
Are they here in Utah?
No, they're out in Ohio, but they're the
Bearded Butchers.
Yeah, they have a big YouTube channel all about just cutting animals. They make really good stuff. They're cool.
Okay.
I probably watched their entire YouTube library.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I want to learn how to do this. Like, this is cool. Like, I could see myself doing this for a little bit. Maybe not long term, but I was bored at Harmon's.
Sure.
And I wanted to keep learning. So I had some contacts with a couple of shops in Utah County, and reached out and got some interviews set up. But there's Mosida Market, which happened to be like 10 minutes from where I was living at the time. And so I was like, I wasn't planning on applying there or anything, but like on a random Tuesday at like 1:00, I walked in and just asked if they were hiring.
Yeah.
My manager and the owner both happened to be there at the same time. So they came out and talked with me for like 15 minutes, offered me the job, and I started 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was like, looking back, it's kind of crazy how it played out, but I fell into it, and I found it was something that I really, really enjoyed. And it turned into something like, man, why am I going to school? Like I can make a good living doing this. And I'd rather do something I enjoy than keep, throwing money at a degree that I'm not really sure about
Yeah.
anyway. So,
They can get expensive.
Yeah.
Also, your job's not likely to be replaced by AI anytime
yes,
soon.
no.
You'd be surprised how much we talk about that.
Yeah.
I've got, people like me, we've got a lot of job security.
Yeah.
Because, as long as people are eating meat, somebody's got to cut it up. Somebody's got to process it. So it's there's a lot of job security there.
At least until the robots start coming.
Yeah, taking over.
They're talking about it. They're on their way.
So you walked in, got the job, and then now your role there is you're currently...
I'm production manager.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I've got 2 brick and mortar stores, a pop-up, and we're working on a 3rd right now. So I'm in charge I'm kind of the head butcher over making sure everything gets cut, making sure everything gets done, stores have what we need, and so we can actually push product through it.
That's cool.
So help me understand a little bit. My perception as an outsider, like looking in, right? My assumption is like your job is to just cut the meat up into smaller pieces. And I just don't know like the breadth and depth of like what it is that you do cut, what things you don't cut, and like a place like this, like what would be kind of like the pipeline, like where are you getting the meat from, and who are kind of like your customers, and like understanding like what it is that you're actually doing like on a day-to-day
And
basis.
how to learn the different cuts too, right? Because
Yeah,
I know
I barely know the difference between. I know which ones I want to get for the meals that I want to prepare, but I don't really know the difference between.
But there's like certain meat, like just talking about steak, right? If you just look at a beef steak in general, it's like certain cuts come from other different cuts, and then like all the different. You've seen the diagrams of like, here's a cow or here's a pig, and it's like, this is where you get these things. It's like, that's cool, but like, how does someone?
It's a lot of just on the job learning. I mean, those diagrams you see, they're like a very, very rough outline of what you're actually pulling out of an animal. And I mean, there's 1,000 different ways. With beef specifically, you can break down a cow in so many different ways. And everybody I've ever met who does the same thing, there's similarities, but we all do it a little bit different. I just do it the way that I got taught by the guy who trained me up, right? And so, but even then, I've kind of tweaked things, and I do things a little bit different than he does. And, the other guys I work with, we all break different pieces down a little bit differently. But you can keep going all the way down to super unknown cuts, but you kind of have like your core, like of your steaks, we have your core 5, New York's, ribeyes, tenderloins, sirloins, there's a bunch of them. Flat irons, people love those. But there's tons of other steaks and cuts that people don't know about. And so doing what we do, where, we're an active slaughterhouse. We're killing on premises, and pulling cattle off the rail. I can do all sorts of different stuff. I do all sorts of specialty things for different, like, people from different backgrounds and different, like culinary backgrounds, there's different cuts in different countries too. And so it's a cool thing that I can do like certain custom stuff that you'd never see in a store here, but in Argentina or in Brazil or wherever, that's a popular thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a cool thing that we can do that kind of stuff on site because I'm working with whole animals. You kind of touched on where we're getting our beef. The cool thing about Mosida is we're growing our own cattle.
Okay.
And we're growing our own feed as well in Utah County. And so it's like there's not many people doing what we're doing, where the only time that cow leaves us is when you buy it.
Oh.
So there's no middleman with us. We're raising all of our own beef. We have our own breeding programs. We've got our own finishing programs, things like that. And so there's not a lot of people doing that anymore. So it's like as local really as you can get here. Because even there's tons of guys around that are still doing great stuff with their product, but they are, they're buying beef from auction or they're pulling it from out of state and things like that. And that's no knock on them. There's some guys around that do a great job doing that, but that kind of sets us apart as we've got our own herd. Yeah,
you're like the what are they, like the farm to table version, if you will, essentially of your market.
That's one of our big marketing pushes, and especially we have a restaurant as well, and so we push that really heavy. We use all of our own beef.
You guys have a restaurant too?
Yeah, so our retail stores, the one in Lehigh, it's upstairs. It's kind of a little different. You go upstairs, and we basically converted our classroom and break room area into a restaurant, and then our location in Provo, we have a full like sit down restaurant area. It's a cool thing. It's a lot of people have really loved that.
We should go there.
You should let me know. I'll show you around.
I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about it too is like you buy a cheeseburger, the chance is that cow was we hang our beef for 2 weeks. That cow was killed 2 weeks ago, and it was cut that morning and ground an hour before you got it.
Oh, that's
really cool.
It really is like as fresh as you can get. It's a cool thing what we're doing.
Because the flip side of that is like, if someone wanted to get into this industry and be a butcher, like they would potentially have to consider what the processes are, working through a third party, working through a farmer who raises their own cattle to then sells you the cattle, right? And then you guys cut it up and et cetera, right? I guess, is it really like raise your own and then buy from someone else? Those really do
pretty much.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot of in between there. I mean, some people do a little bit of hybrid.
But I think there's is there also an option of just like doing more of like a service type butchering where you're maybe not necessarily getting the meat to like cut and like have on premise like sell readily available, but like be like if people wanted to just like hire you and like you could come in, is that also a thing?
Yeah, that is a thing.
Or?
I mean, there's shops that do, we call it custom processing. We used to do it. We don't do it anymore just because our business model has changed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's people who raise their own cattle. They'll call you up, you kill and cut them up for you, and then send it back to them. Or they have clients that'll buy a whole beef from them, and so you cut that up for them, and you're kind of the middleman from the farmer to the purchaser there, and they go through you. So there's a lot of shops that still do that as well.
So did you guys strictly do beef, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, we used to dabble a little bit with our custom stuff. I mean, I know how to do pigs, I know how to do sheep and goats and wild game and things like that, but really out of our retail, it's primarily beef. We do pork and poultry and things like that, but it's not ours. We're just buying it from a distributor. But
do you guys do like jerky and stuff too?
Yeah.
Or is it more just like the raw?
It's mostly raw. We've dabbled in it a little bit. There's hurdles with state laws and inspections and things like that.
Oh.
Because for us to do it ourselves, it's logistically, it's a hard thing. So like there was a guy we were going through out in the basin who was making jerky for us, and there were some discrepancies about rules with the state and whether or not, because he's federally inspected and we're state inspected, or maybe he's state TA, I can't remember, but there's rules about selling cooked product once it's left your store and things like that. So we're working through that, but it's we do jerky and it's really good. It's just we're working on being able to sell it.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you come to the shop and you go in the back, they'll be able to hook you up. But if you want to buy it from them, well, no, I understand. Tell me, like when you think about somebody who's thinking about getting into this type of career or this industry, if you had like to say, hey, here's the things that you should consider when you're thinking about coming into this role, what would you say to them?
I mean, I would ask about goals long term.
Okay.
Like, I mean, because if you just want to learn how to cut up animals, because I kind of differentiate. There's meat cutters and then there's butchers, and there's no hate or anything on meat cutters. Meat cutters are guys a lot of like what your grocery stores are getting. They're getting in boxed beef is what we call it, just primals that they are getting from a distributor, and they'll take a whole rib loin and then cut it into steaks and things like that. So you can go that route, and that's what I was doing at Harmon's, and that's where a lot of people start.
So this is like some sort of entity is distributing essentially pre-cut, not all the way down to the small, but like taking account, quartering it or whatever into different sections that are still reasonably sized, and then just boxing those and then sending them out.
It's like taking a Costco thing and then packaging it smaller into a smaller thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That route, I mean, as far as like hours and like career paths and things like that, it's going to be similar to like whatever you'd expect at that grocery store or whatever. You kind of got to look at the entity as a whole. Now with something with me where we're doing whole animals, or custom butchering, or whatever it may be, something to that effect. The ceiling, depending on how you do it, can be kind of low. Like you can make a good living, you can be comfortable. I've worked with a guy who cut meat at a grocery store for 30 years, and he's lived comfortably. But for you to really start making like good money, you've got to pursue your own shop. At least in my opinion, my experiences, just because your margins are so tight otherwise, and especially with the beef market where it fluctuates so much.
Sure,
you can have good years and you can have bad years. Like right now, the beef market's bad. Like it's kind of historically bad right now, and so for certain shops, they might struggle because now they can't afford to buy a product, and they're selling at a 5% markup, and that's not enough to be sustainable, right?
Yeah.
and I've had people ask me like, hey, what do I got to do if I want to start my own shop?
Yeah.
I tell them you better have a lot of money because the upfront cost, it's big. You got to know what you're doing. So, I mean, for me, I've been doing whole animal for 2 years now. You can throw pretty much anything at me and I could have never seen it and I could probably get it broke down.
So crazy.
But yeah, I know pretty well how to do most everything. And so personally, I would feel comfortable starting my own shop because I know how to do pretty much everything on my own here and there. And if you don't know it, there's books, there's YouTube, things like that where you can learn. But the upfront cost is what really makes that difficult. And logistically, it's a hard thing because sure, if you get the facilities and you've got all the tools, you've got the coolers, the freezers, all the permits. City permits can be really hard, especially if you're doing slaughter and city limits. That can be a hard thing to get over. Some cities in particular
don't let you do it at all.
They're really difficult. And you got to go through the state and make sure you got the right inspection type and licensing and things like that. But even once you have all the equipment and all that ready to go, operating cost is high. Water, power, things like that. And with slaughterhouses, offal disposal, guts, hides, heads, bones, anything that you're not, any unedible product.
Yeah,
sure. You got to find a place to get rid of it. And for some people, that's a hard thing because you can't just have a dumpster in the middle.
Yeah,
of
you
the
can't just throw it in the back.
Yeah, you can't just do that. And so,
what do you do?
What do you? We have dumpsters, so everything gets dumped into specific dumpsters, and they come first thing the next morning at like 4 or 5 in the morning and get it dumped. So it doesn't sit long. But we have certain permits and things like that where we can do that. But I mean, like if I just wanted to go start custom slaughtering on my own, I'd have to find a place and a way to dispose of guts and things like that.
Yeah,
sure.
And some people they'll do farm slaughter or they just let it, into the bucket of a bobcat or something like that, and they'll just go dig a hole and bury it on the property somewhere.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just let it decompose naturally.
Yeah, and there's certain dumps and things like that where you can go dispose of those kinds of things. But anyway, getting back to the point, starting your own place can be difficult, but if that's where you want to make money, I mean, that's kind of your best route to go. Or you can be like me. I got in at a good time with Mosida, and there's a lot of growth opportunity for us. We're growing quick. We're seeing, we're hearing a lot of good things from people. And so, for me, the outlook is good.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's not going to be that way. I mean, you could get stuck. You could just be a meat cutter making an okay wage for 15 years, if you don't play your cards right. And I mean, you're as good as you want to be. You get better, you can do more. I mean, you are of value to whoever you're working for, right? So
sure,
it can be a hard road, but if you do it right, it can be really, really good for you too.
So it's either work for a grocery store or a butcher or something who's already established, or try to look at setting up your own company, but there's a lot of legalities and expenses with that.
And even then, if you want to set up your own place, you're still going to have to go learn how to cut.
Sure.
I mean, you can't just start a shop not knowing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you could, but you might fail.
Good luck.
You'll probably fail.
Right. Not going to have not many returning clients.
That's right.
So, yeah. So I guess 2 questions on my end. I think we've talked a little bit about needing permits, and it makes sense, right? If you're handling food, you need to have a certain permit. If you're disposing of the non-edible parts, you need to have some sort of flow and everything. But being a slaughterhouse versus a place that sells the meat, obviously those things are different. But what are the permits and things? This may sound like a dumb question, but what are the permits and sort of the regulations that you need in place? What's the purpose of them, and how many of them does someone need to really look at needing to set up?
I mean, I've not done it personally, but I know.
Sure.
I mean, all those permits and things, we're inspected through the State Department of Ag. So, and they have their rules, and there's certain federal regulations and guidelines that they follow that we follow as well. And so, I mean, there's rules we have to follow, and for the most part, it's for good reason. It's food safety. Again, you're working with perishable product and hot carcasses and things like that. I mean, you're looking at E. coli, you're looking at other foodborne illness if you're not careful. And so, any permits or things like that, inspections, they're there for customer safety, but it's a little bit of an insurance policy on your end too.
Right.
So just to help make sure you're not getting people sick.
I feel like every rule that was ever created was because something bad happened at some point.
Yeah,
For the
seriously.
most part, yeah. And I mean, with the slaughter, there's a whole different set of rules you got to follow because there's certain humane handling and ethical things you got to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And make sure that you're treating animals right. And for me, that's a big thing for me. I think there's kind of a common misconception that like I get this quite a bit. That just because I butcher that I like enjoy death.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where that comes from.
Like
I
a
mean,
Dexter type of thing.
Yeah. I understand kind of the thought process there, but I mean, for me personally, that couldn't really be further from the truth. And really, I think like doing what I do makes you appreciate animals and what they are and how you treat them. Because, you know, to me, like I am the steward of that animal. And that goes for all meat animals. I believe they're there for us to be used, but treating them ethically and respectfully and utilizing as much as we can within reason to best make the most worth out of that life,
Sure.
if that makes sense, you know. And I mean, you look at works from people like Temple Grandin, and I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she was kind of the she really led the charge in ethical animal treatment, especially in the meat industry.
There's like a movie about her.
Yes, there is.
What's
Yeah.
well, do you remember?
I can't remember what it's called, but it's look into her work. It's awesome.
What's her name again?
Temple Grandin.
Okay.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
What I remember from, I haven't watched the film, but I saw some parts of it. But like,
Yeah.
she had like designed and developed, like the ways, even like the way that they kind of like manage the movement of the animals.
Yeah.
Because
interesting.
The way they were doing it previously was just like
hauling them on truck or something?
no. I'm like
Moving them between pens and stalls and things.
Yes.
Oh.
Because I mean, this is something people don't know, but like I can tell if an animal was stressed out when
Mm-hmm.
it was killed. There's certain aspects and there's things in the carcass that you can see if it was having physical problems and I don't see it a lot. We do a really good job.
Yeah.
But I've seen it in other places where you'll see things like bloodshotting throughout muscles and meat and bruising and inflammation in joints and things like that. You'll see that kind of stuff if an animal is stressed.
Does that change the flavor or the taste of the? Okay.
Some of it you can't even sell. Like if it's
interesting.
because it's literally I don't know the full like the scientific reason to it, but
Sure.
when the animals are stressed out, you know, things like blood pressure raised, blood flow and circulation increases, and so there's more blood to the muscles, and so it's harder when you drain and age carcasses. It's harder to eliminate that.
And are those issues that you can tell looking at an animal while you're cutting it up? Are those things that happen over long periods of time in their lifetime, or is it like up until they were about to be killed and hauled and whatever, or like?
Depending.
Okay.
I think more the physical thing is like the structure of the animals. Like, you know, sometimes if, you know, a cow fell, it'll be bruised on the hip. And that happens. I mean, that's not like an ethics thing or that's not like something that we can control. I mean, if an animal falls, I mean, you know, it's going to bruise it. It might have some a growth on the bone where it might have chipped something or things like that. And so that can happen, but as far as like the bloodshotting and things like that, that tends to my understanding, I don't know for sure, but to my understanding, that is like a leading up to slaughter thing, or the couple days before maybe something happened and that animal's freaked out, or
Gotcha.
You don't really know. I don't really know for sure, but I mean, I've seen stressed out animals before, so in other places.
What would be kind of like your like you've had a lot of hands-on experience. I think you talked about this a little bit of like the way to learn how about these cuts is hands-on, but like you've also referenced like YouTube and other things. Like what are some resources that someone could look at or look into if they're like, I don't have a butcher that I could go get hands-on experience or like follow them around or whatever, but like what are ways that someone could get educated in this space?
I mean, I already kind of referenced Bearded Butchers. Those guys are great.
Yeah,
like they have full breakdowns. The Perkins guys, they're awesome. I learned a ton from them. Also, there's a surprising amount of like books about processing, field processing. And I have a couple. They're like textbook style books about processing different animals and the methods and like history of, you know, where certain cuts became popular, or like how they became standardized in the American market and things like that. As far as like learning the actual skills, you would be hard pressed to learn how to do it without
the hands-on.
Right. And I mean, really, like if it's something you're interested in, go find a grocery store or go do what I did and go find a shop and just ask.
Yeah.
You know, they may not be hiring. It doesn't hurt to ask though.
Sure.
You know, and I really think if that's something you want to do, you kind of just, you got to bite the bullet and go learn how to do it hands on. And I found like, I don't know, I mean, some people hunt and they have that background processing.
Processing
game.
their
Sure,
own.
yeah.
Right. And I know like a lot of guys I've worked with, they kind of came from that background. Like they knew how to, you know, they killed deer every year growing up or things like that. So they learned how to process there, and some of that carries over.
Yeah.
But really, I don't think there's a great way to learn how to do it unless it's the hands-on, getting dirty, learning the process.
I remember there was, I don't know if you remember, one of our neighbors growing up in the neighboring cul-de-sac. He was a hunter. And I remember going to play at someone's house and riding by on my bike, and there was this elk, I think it was an elk, just hanging from its heels in his garage. And it was just like he had, you know, he was collecting the blood and stuff, and it was draining it all out. And I was like, oh, man. And then later on, I remember going to one of my good friend's house, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? And I show up, and he's like, oh, just skinning a coyote. Oh, man. So I think, like, those are the things that people, I think, unless you're in a small town or, like, have friends who are hunters or familiar with that, it's like, this is a foreign thing, right? Yeah. Skinning an animal, taking all that off, and then cleaning it, and then getting the different cuts, and then, you know, making sure everything's good to go to then eat later on.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I've had a few people just in the past couple of years come through. They think that's what they want to do, and you kind of got to have a good stomach. Doesn't have to be great, but there's some things you'll see, especially slaughter.
Yeah.
It's gross. I mean, it's dead animals, right? And so for me, it doesn't bother me. I'm very comfortable with death and guts and blood and things like that, obviously. But some people, I mean, I've seen people quit after like 2 days.
Oh,
they
wow.
Can't handle it. And
Crazy.
I mean, you'll deal with smells and, you know, all sorts of nasty stuff just because that's the nature of the business. You know, that's an unavoidable thing. So if you can't handle that, good luck.
Yeah.
You either got to learn how to do it, or, I mean, bless you if you. But
deal with the smells.
Yeah, and it is such a foreign thing to so many people I found, and it surprised me because I grew up. You know, I have family that hunts. You know, I hunt myself and things like that, and so I'm, like I said, I'm super comfortable with death and dead things, right? But there's a surprising amount of people that just it's such a foreign thing for them, and so doing what we do, it's one of my favorite things to show people around and show them what we're doing, because the amount of people I'll show little kids 3 years old all the way to, you know, 90-year-olds who have never seen that kind of thing. You don't see it as much with the older folks.
Yeah. Sure.
I love showing them that kind of stuff because it's a cool thing what we're doing, and it's so foreign to so many people, and it just is a really good way, especially for kids, to understand where food comes from and kind of build that connection to, I guess, like the life cycle and how, you know, we are raising an animal, treating it well, and then we're gonna take its life so that we can eat it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really important thing for everybody to understand. And I love showing people that and talking to people about that. And some people think it's the coolest thing, and some people are kind of freaked out and grossed out by it, and that's okay. But I think it's something, you know, that's important for people to understand and have that connection.
A respect for their food, essentially.
Absolutely.
Like really knowing.
Yes.
I think that people just don't always really know the amount of effort. And I know, you know, sure, they're businesses, and sure we found ways to streamline a lot of this stuff. Yeah. But there is a lot of effort that goes into, like, feeding the population, just in general, right? And just making sure that we have, I mean, the food, the supply chain, and then just like the freshness. Like this is a thing that has to continually happen every day in order to just make sure that people eat.
Yeah.
I mean, I get, you know, grown adults who've come in and they've been eating meat their whole life and they've never seen a carcass.
Yeah.
You know, and there is I think a disconnect as far as the commercialization of meat and especially meat. People just aren't exposed to that. I mean, back in the day, you raised your own cows, you raised your own pigs, and you sent them off to the butcher for slaughter, right? A lot of people grew up doing that, but as the industry's progressed and been streamlined, you have these mass slaughterhouses that are pushing through 1,200, 2,000 cows a day, if not more. People just, you don't see that. You're not familiar with it anymore. And so it's an important thing, I think.
And then it magically shows up at the grocery store
Right.
and then in your fridge, and you cook it and it tastes good.
Yep.
Yeah. What are some things that were either a surprise or things that you didn't think of, or things that you learned after as you got further in your career being a butcher that you're like, oh, like anything that stands out as maybe like a reality that you didn't know would be a thing as much as it was when you first started to where you are now?
I think physically it's a lot harder than some people would think. Some people understand it, but others, like, there's way worse jobs physically, don't get me wrong. But like it is a hard thing. I mean, we're throwing around chunks of an animal that are, several 100 pounds. You're carrying those around. For the first 2 weeks that I did this, my hands hurt so bad. And it happens to pretty much everybody because you're not used to gripping and squeezing and holding things like that all day long. Because, I mean, it's regular that you'll be on that table 8-10 hours, sometimes more.
Sure.
And so if you're not used to that, I mean, it can be hard on you physically. Part of it, too, was realizing how foreign it is to some people.
Yeah.
I was comfortable with it. It never really bothered me. But then you start talking to customers and things like that, and they're like, wow, this is what you do. This is where my food's coming from.
Right.
I'm like, well, yeah, where else is it coming from?
Yeah.
Right.
When I was going to school, I was studying. I was prepping to go to med school.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
Cool.
I was in an engineering. I was going to an engineering school in South Dakota. It was great. Loved it. Studying my major was biomedical engineering.
Okay.
And then I was doing it with a pre-medical.
Oh, that's funny. I did that too, actually.
Yeah. So that was that's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I realized I sucked at calculus.
Yes. Yes.
So
Calculus is the worst.
It's so bad.
I think a lot of people get filtered out of the engineering
Right.
programs like that
Yeah,
because they get
yeah.
beat up by math.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I came home and I kept going to school, kind of headed towards that medical thing. And I mean, had you told me this is what I was going to be doing when I was 18, I'd have laughed. Because it never even crossed my mind as a kid that that's something you could do. But
Sure.
I mean, and people ask that all the time. Well, how do you get into that? How'd you fall into that? Well, it just kind of happened, And
Right.
some people love it. They love to talk about it. I think it's awesome. And then you get the crazies that don't. They think you're kind of dumb or, you flunked out of school or,
Right.
I've had some backlash from some people, but I love what I do. So
Yeah.
to me, that's what matters.
Oh, and your role is clearly needed, right?
Yeah.
Because I think like the people who look at these types of roles or even various other trades of like, yeah, you didn't go to college or you didn't get your master's or a PhD or whatever, so like you didn't make it, right? So I think there can be that mentality in the world, but also like those that have achieved those things, they still need and consume the things that other people that didn't get to their
Right.
level or
Right.
whatever, right? And I think it's just a matter of preference of what is enjoyable, and I think you've found yours.
I mean, I'd rather do what I'm doing now. I mean, it keeps me in shape. I enjoy what I do. I get to meet tons of cool people and have cool experiences and talk to different people every day. And I mean, I would go stir crazy working a desk job or something
sure.
like that. Yeah, that's just not my thing. And so I've found something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And it's fulfilling in a way because it's a local product that I'm processing and getting to people that I've grown up with and know and people that I love, and I feel like for me, it's a fulfilling role. It's something that I can kind of be proud of, it's not a lot, but it's honest. It's just good, honest work.
I feel like a butcher is also kind of one of those roles where it's like you can be, and oftentimes like a key community member, like because people will find out about a butcher or the meats and the quality of meat that you will cut up and that they're able to consume, and it's like a word of mouth. It spreads, right? And it's not something that's just franchised out and you just do it across the nation. It's more of like you get to know your people, you get to know the livestock that you're working with, and then you're able to build those relationships with those in your community, and you're able to build that reputation.
Right, and people know and love it, and it's a cool thing because we're family owned. I mean, the family's all in the area, and the farms, 45 minutes south of here, just north of Eureka. Alberta. And so it's a cool thing when people come in and they're like, so where are you getting your beef from? And I can tell them, it's about a 30-minute drive south of here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or we've got a couple of different feedlots in different places, but at the core, it's a local product with a local family. They're great. People know them. They love them for the most part. And it's, people know us for what we do.
Sure.
And I know a lot of people just since I've started working that have started coming to the shop and buying from us, and they tell their friends and their family, and they're like, wow, this is a cool thing that I can go buy something that was raised half an hour from here.
Sure.
You know, so, and I think there's been a big push for that recently, people being more conscious of where their food's coming from as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a really good thing for us too.
I feel like more of these things are starting to become more and more popular because it's like there's a place down, what is it? I think it's like near Nephi or something, like the creamery, or there's something down there.
There's,
that like
in Nephi, there's Bar W.
Oh, maybe
There's another one. The creamery in Beaver.
Yeah,
That's
sorry,
probably what
Beaver.
you're
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah.
because that like brand new building, right? Super, super nice.
So we actually supply their beef. For
Oh, do you really?
We all their beef that they put like in their cheeseburgers and stuff.
Yeah.
That's ours. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So primarily, I don't know if you know this, but Mosida, like the farm, they're primarily a dairy. That's where that's the majority of it. And in recent years, they've branched out into commercial beef, and that's kind of when Mosida Market came to be. But they're one of the biggest dairies in the state, if not the biggest. I can't remember. I don't know for sure, but they've got relationships all over the state in that sphere as well.
That makes sense.
I didn't know that. I think we were driving home from St. George one time, and we're like, hey, that looks like a nice place. Let's stop there. And we stopped, and I think we just got their ice cream. So
yeah, they got good stuff there.
But yeah.
Yeah, so next time you stop, that's our beef.
Okay, all right. Good.
Unless something changes.
Yeah.
That's our stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. Better go soon then and make sure.
Right? No, I think coming over to your guys' market, trying out your food and restaurant at Mosida, I think would be good too.
So you said you interact with people a lot, and I think like some of my assumptions would be like, oh, if you're the butcher, then you're like in the back all the time, and then you're not really coming out and interacting with people. But I guess it really kind of depends on how the place is set up on whether or not you have that sort of interaction.
Well, I mean, you walk in and there's a big plexiglass window that looks straight into the cut room.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
cool.
I mean, you walk in, the first thing you see is me back there cutting.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And I mean, like, I spend most of my day back there, but I interact with customers. I help with special orders, things like that. And we've had, I've had the opportunity to build relationships with like your repeat customers, your returning guys. I know their names. You ask about their families, you know who they are, and they know about you. And that's a cool thing to have. And, check it. Hey, how's so-and-so? How's your kids doing? Things like that. And from a business standpoint, that's a great thing for us too, because as a customer, if I'm giving my business to somebody who cares about my personal life and things like that, they care about those relationships. And so it's a fun thing to like check in on how, whoever's family is doing and things like that. And I mean, we've been able to work with some other big names and stuff too. And that's been a ton of fun. A lot of cool opportunities as far as the people aspect goes. And some other guys in the company too, they've had even more opportunity to do that than I have.
What would you say is something that if someone wanted to become a butcher, that they would need to try to consider or figure out to set themselves apart from another butcher?
Oh,
right?
sure. Like if they're hiring somebody or bringing them in, like how do you?
Because I think that, sure, there's the statement of like there's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? Yeah. But I think you've mentioned before that
there's multiple ways to cut a cow.
There's multiple ways to cut a cow.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned before, like you learned a certain way to cut, and you have even found some adaptation to your cuts. So like how does someone set themselves apart?
From a skills perspective, I think you just need to be willing to work. I mean, it's a physically demanding thing. And I mean, really, as long as you can show up every day early and work those long days, because for us, I don't have a set schedule. I roll in at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm there until we're done for the day. And so it's a perishable product, and if it's got to get cut, it's got to get cut.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long I've worked there, especially during the holidays, like there's some long days. And so if you're able to handle that, I really think that's really all, in my experience, that's all I'm looking for when we're hiring, is just somebody who's willing to show up and open to learning and be adaptable as well. Because some places, like, I mean, depending if you're working at grocery stores, some stores have like corporate standard for how they cut things.
Oh, sure.
So you need to know different techniques. You need to know different ways of doing things. And that's something I really try to do is learn different names of different cuts and different techniques and things like that, so that, you know, a customer comes to me with an idea or something they want, I don't have to Google it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that for you. You know, when do you want it?
Sure.
How much do you want? That kind of thing. But as well as going beyond the actual skill set, just having a knowledge of like cooking processes and different preparations and things. So because you're also a salesman in a sense, right? I mean, you're selling a product to a customer. And so anything you can learn and any info you can provide to those guys, it goes a long way, especially from an employer standpoint. If I can hire somebody and I know they know what they're doing, but they also know, you know, they're educated about cutting, cooking, finishing procedures, husbandry, things like that, and they can answer questions that people have, because a lot of people feel like they know a lot about me, and again, no hate on them, but
some of them don't.
They don't. Yeah. they think they do, but they don't. And you know, being kind of a professional in that space, being able to educate those people and kind of help them understand where they might be wrong is another important thing. So
it's like, know your product.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Know what you're selling.
Yeah.
You know the background. I mean, if you're like us and you know you're raising your own cows, learn all about your breeding procedures and your finishing and slaughter age and things like that. Have that info at hand. And if you're not, some places you're not going to have access to that info, but learn as much as you can outside of just the physical aspect.
Gotcha.
Because that goes a long way for consumers as well. I get a lot of questions about how to cook stuff. And so I've cooked probably everything on an animal 10 times over. So, because it's just, you got to know how to do that.
You said slaughter age, like needing to know the age of how of the piece of meat or the animal is.
Yeah, some people care about. I mean, like industry standard is 18 to 24 months. That's when you slaughter usually.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm talking about when I say that. Some people, like, there's some ethical things about veal, like calf.
Sure. Yeah.
So like we don't do that, but a lot of people are concerned about that, or some people don't care at all. There's certain, like the state requires we cut things differently if it's over 30 months, because you start running risks of like mad cow disease and things like that. So like same thing, we don't really have that problem, but other places could. Just be prepared to answer questions. You know, it may not be like important, but if somebody wants to know, hey, how old are you, or how old are you killing your cows at, or how long are you letting them hang, or things like that. It's just, it's a good thing to have off the top of your head to help people out and, you know, educate those guys.
Yeah, I imagine it's one of those things like, you know, like if you're selling a car, you have to know all the details about the car because different people care about different things.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, if regardless of whether or not their opinion is correct or justified or whatever it is, they believe it. And it's the difference between whether or not they're going to make a purchase decision or not. Yeah. Right.
And you do see that, especially you see that more with age differences. Old people like different stuff than young people.
Oh, right.
And they have different preferences of cuts and different preferences of like marbling and fat content and things like that. And there's some more old school style cuts that old people prefer that young guys are like, what are you even, what is that? Like, you're eating that, like, or you're doing it that way.
So and I know you said, like, you suggested somebody getting work from, or at least you said that it was a way that somebody could get into it. It was like work at like a grocery store and kind of start small. Would you often like take somebody who just has never had any experience, just do strictly on the job training for somebody coming in to just want to? Yeah.
I mean,
observer.
That's more of kind of like an interview thing. Like, see, you know, are they going to show up to work on time? Are they, you know, how's their character? You know, how good of a worker are they? Because really, anybody can learn how to cut.
Yeah.
It's just, are you going to be willing to do the things to keep the job?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I mean, really, all I ask is you show up to work on time. That's really all I ask. So if you can show up on time and you're not going to be be ornery every day at work, then I can teach you everything you need to know. That's a lot of what the workforce is. I think especially at like your big commercial processors, you know, people like Tyson, like those the big four processors. A lot of those guys, they probably have no experience at all. Yeah, but they just they teach you how to cut one piece of meat really, really fast, and you assembly line it.
Yeah,
I mean that's what you see at those big places. So if you want, you could probably get started there. I know people who've done that as well and then moved into the more whole animal. They learn the whole process, but that is a place you could get started. I really don't feel like there's that many requirements to get started. You just have to be willing to do the work and be willing to learn the process. So,
is there any like formal licensing to show like I am a good butcher
or a better butcher,
or a better butcher? Yeah.
I know there are like schools that teach animal processing. I actually think Snow College is working on one right now. Utah State might have one they do in conjunction with one of the technical colleges.
Makes sense.
But in my opinion, it's kind of a waste. Just go learn how to do it on the job, really, because they're going to teach you a lot of stuff. And I would love to teach like the base level stuff. I don't think it's like just because you went to school doesn't mean you're going to be better at it than anyone else.
Sure.
You might have a better start, like a good head start, and have a good idea and be a little more prepped to get into that workforce. But there's not a lot of like formal training options, at least around here. There's some. It's a lot of just on the job stuff. And I mean, there's like butcher unions and things like that nationwide. But to me, it matters. Do you know how to do it or not? I don't care if you went to school.
Right.
Do you know how to do it? And do you know how to do it well? That's what matters to me. And that's just my opinion. But I think school is a really good way for people to get started if you can find a program.
Sure.
But there's no harm in just going and finding a job and doing it on site too.
Not necessary, but could be if that's the way you learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And it could make you more hireable too. I mean, if there's a place you really want to go work and like, this is what you want to go do, you can go do that program. Usually they're not super long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I'd love to do like a program with high schoolers or something like that, just to expose them.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that never even crossed my mind growing up. And so I think there's a lot of kids who, especially, they want to go more the trade route. They know they don't want to go to college. They don't want to do kind of that traditional degree pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that they think about at all.
Sure.
Because you always hear about, being a welder or a plumber or an electrician or a mechanic, things like that. And those are great, obviously. Yeah. But I think bringing that butchering to the forefront and just making people a little more aware of it it could help a lot of kids out and find something that they enjoy. Because I mean, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I never even thought about it, but I kind of stumbled into it, and I love what I do. So,
well, I mean, if we get enough views on this video and there's a demand for it, we'll let you know if there's some sort of like, hey, yeah, we would love like a butcher class or something. And then there's another extension of Mosida Market.
There you go. We do classes, but it's a little different.
Sure.
So people like seeing that kind of stuff too. So
cool. As far as like, I'm trying to think of like career growth, right? Someone looks at, hey, I want to learn how to cut meat. I want to be able to do this. I want to set up my own company or whatever. Like when you're a butcher, is it really just you're one of many butchers or the only butcher, and then you're like top dog butcher and like that's kind of it? Or like what does that look like?
Kind of. I mean, when I started, it was you were in charge of trimming, deboning all the scrap pieces and grinding. That's your job, and you'll do that for 6 months, a year, however long it takes for somebody else to move in. And then you at least for us, that's how it is. I mean, you're the bottom of the barrel.
Sure.
And you do kind of that grunt work, and that's something you got to think about when, especially in that industry. It's kind of I don't want to say cutthroat, but it's a little bit old school. Like you're the new guy, you're going to do the crappy job.
Put in the time.
Right. And that's what I did. You got to pay your dues. Right. And so slowly I moved up and learned more. And then the spot opened up where I could kind of take over from the guy before me. And I think it's more of a facility to facility thing. It just depends on how you operate. It doesn't, I don't think there's a universal consistent system people use. It's just more of a place to place kind of thing. So that's how it is for us. But I mean, if you wanted to go somewhere else, I know places where they'll hire you. Like if I wanted to go apply to work at some other place, I would probably skip the line on some people just because I know what to do. Right. Yeah. They don't, they ain't got to worry about me. They can just leave me to it and I can get the work done. But not that I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Staying with Mosida for a little bit.
Yeah. No, I love those guys. They're great. So
yeah,
good job.
It's interesting to like that idea of, and I think that people know this to some degree, that like the culture of where you live makes a huge difference on where you work makes a huge difference on like what your work life is. And I think that that's just something they have to take into consideration, right? If you want to work corporate grocery, you want to work corporate, mass butchering, or you want to work more family oriented, kind of like local.
like us, we have a grand old time. It's fun back there for the most part. Like we joke, we laugh, we have a good time when we work. But depending on your environment, it's going to be a little different. It might be a little quieter. You might have some grumpy people you work with. But I would consider that too before you commit to working somewhere, is get an idea of what kind of environment you like. Mm-hmm. You know, if you like the more, because for us, I mean, our processing room is not big. It's a pretty intimate, condensed space.
Intimate, good word.
It's like, I mean, you can't hide a conversation from anybody in that room.
Yeah.
Sure. So, and I mean, it's a fun thing. I think as far as workplaces go, it's probably my favorite that I've had, just because it is a very social thing. We all stand at a table together, you know, 2 to 6 of us for 8 hours. Yeah. And, you know, I'm within arm's reach of the guy next to me, or he's across from me. And so it's a lot of conversation. And I think for me, that's a great thing.
Sure.
You know, those days where it's slow or like people are quiet, not talking, they tend to drag on, and that's nobody's fault. But like the days that we get good conversation going, it's a lot more fun. You're not really, the day moves a little quicker. Yeah. So 'cause we have a good time.
In my head, I think that butchers are essentially different sizes of knives, and they're doing everything by hand. Mm-hmm. Is there an element of like power tools in butchery?
I use a Sawzall.
Oh, really?
Every day. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, my main 2 things you have, I mean, it depends on who you're talking to and personal preferences. I mean, I use a 6-inch boning knife, a 12-inch breaking knife, and then I have a big bandsaw that we break carcasses on. And then I split and, you know, I cut the shoulders or the hinds or, you know, other bits and pieces with just a Sawzall. It's just designated as like meat only. That's all it gets used for. And certain places use certain things. Some people use hand saws still. It's a little more work. That's kind of a more traditional way. Some of the crazy people out there still use, I don't want to say crazy, but they use cleavers still to split carcasses. And that's a lot of work. Yeah. I think, I mean, if you're worried about being efficient, don't go that route.
Yeah,
sure.
Use power tools. For the most part, it's mostly hand tools, though. I mean, power tools certainly help. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Only in the right places, because there's some things you just can't do with the power tool.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're the more finesse type cuts and things like that. I mean, those boning knives that we use are, you know, yay long and super thin, and they're bendy and skinny, and you got to be able to get into those tight places where if you just start hacking at it with a big knife or a saw, you're going to ruin things, or you're not going to be as efficient with your cuts. Your yields are going to be worse with a sellable product.
Which is ultimately like, that's literally money on the table.
No, that is like, if you accidentally hack up a high dollar piece of meat, you're going to hear about it, because that's money that we're losing. You know, and you can try and salvage things, but I mean, if you hack up a $200 tenderloin, I'm not going to be super happy with you. I mean, that's money, you know, and so you do got to learn how to be efficient and how to maximize yields, and that's just kind of an attention to detail thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, pay attention to what you're doing and learn how to be efficient with your cuts, and I mean, maximize your yields. That's where your money comes. So
learn your cuts, learn your tools.
Yep.
And here's a weird outside of the box question. What's your favorite cut, if you have one?
I get that one a lot.
Maybe your favorite cut to consume, and then your favorite cut to do. Maybe they're different.
Maybe those are different.
To consume, I mean, ribeyes or king steaks. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
Those are great. I love a Denver. I don't know if you're familiar with that. A Denver steak. It's not a super common thing, so it's part of it's the chuck. So your chuck roast, where you get those, there's a cap that goes over the top of the chuck roll, and that's part of the cap. And so they're not quite as tender, but they tend to be super marbled, and they're super beefy. Like the flavor of them, super beefy. I love them, and they're pretty budget friendly too.
Interesting.
Like way budget friendly compared to some other stuff.
It's called a Denver?
A Denver, right. They're rectangles usually. I love them. I eat them pretty frequently. Flat irons are great. A lot of people don't do those either. Those are a little harder to find. I love flat irons.
Yeah, I remember seeing those flat irons on like menus at steakhouses all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't see them anymore.
Yeah. You grocery stores don't do them. They're a tricky thing to cut. To do them well, it's kind of a hard thing. It takes like hundreds of them to get good at it.
Interesting.
I mean, you can look up videos of how you cut them, but it's 2 muscles with a seam in between them, like a big silver skin seam, and you have to learn how to like flay it and not cut through that silver skin and still be able to get as much of the meat off of that. So it's kind of a tricky cut for a lot of people. That's why a lot of grocery stores don't do them, because their guys tend to be not unskilled, but they're just not quite as good. And the yields on them aren't great. There's a lot of trim off of them, and so from a money perspective, it can be kind of hard. It may not be worth it for them.
Or sorry, I totally cut you off. So Denver,
Denver's ribeyes, flat irons. Those are kind of my go-tos. I love, honestly, tri-tips are great if you want to smoke something up. I mean, those are kind of my two that I tell people. If you want something different, go with a Denver or a flat iron. And like our clients, our customers, they know what the flat irons are. We sell tons of them. They love them. But like people who are new to the shop, they may have never heard of it. And so that's usually kind of the route that I try and push them if you want something a little different.
And those are all ones you like to consume. Is there a certain cut that you like to do or prefer to do?
I love breaking rib loins down where you get your rib eyes, because there's a lot of like boning things out and seams that you're pulling and cutting. It's just kind of a satisfying thing. Same thing with boning out sirloins. You know, it's the big hip bone, and you're pulling a big round of meat out of that hip and kind of digging it out. I've always liked those. That's a hard question because you do it every day.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm doing the same piece every half an hour all day. So it's.
Do you ever like cut one up and you're going like, I'm setting that one aside. I'm taking that
one. Yeah, we get accused of that a lot, and it doesn't happen as much as you think. But sometimes when you get like the nice Wagyu beef that comes through, you're yeah, that's you're not seeing the retail.
Yeah,
you're coming home with me. Yeah, that's dinner tonight.
Yeah,
so
okay,
it does happen. I try not to, just because you do want that good product on the shelves. You want people to know you have it.
Sure,
but every now and again, especially when you get a good Denver. I'll set those aside for me.
Yeah, just like this one. My name's going on these ones, guys. Yep. Nobody touched this one.
Yeah, I've done some fun stuff, done some cool things. So some crazy, out of the normal stuff. I'm thinking about. I don't know if you know who Benny Kendrick is.
No,
Kendrick Barbecue.
Who's that?
So he's one of the big. He's like a Traeger rep. He works with them. He used to live close to here. And so we picked him up as kind of a client of ours, doing a lot of cuts for his social media. He's got a really, really big following. I don't know if you want to like look him up or like.
What's his name?
Yeah, Kendrick. So it's Kendrick Barbecue. Is his
Kendrick Barbecue?
Ben Kendrick. And he, we've done a ton of work with him. I've loved working with him. He's such a cool dude, and like some of the stuff that I've been able to cut for him is awesome. I mean, he's got videos. We did a whole round steak that was like 50 something pounds.
Oh wow!
And it went cool. viral, like hundreds of millions of views. I don't know if it was quite that many, but like all I know is like people like Gordon Ramsay were duetting it on TikTok. Like some big names. So it's like it's kind of a cool
thing.
And you're
like,
that's
I cut that piece.
Yeah, so that was kind of my like.
Your claim to fame adjacent. Yeah. Nobody knows, but it's like every cut of every viral video of his meat was cut by somebody.
Right. And it's not just him. He's great, and he's been really good for us from like a marketing standpoint, but I've been able to do some crazy stuff that you'd never think of. I mean, my boss and I, we did like I think it was a 13 bone rack of short ribs.
Oh, wow.
It was like the whole length. It was probably 4 or 5 feet long.
Oh,
that we cut for him, and he smoked those up.
So he just comes up and he's like, I got this crazy idea.
That's exactly what it is. He'll call him up and be like, hey, I got this idea. Can you do it? And then we'll sit there and like, yeah, we'll find a way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll do it for him. And so he's been super fun to work with, doing some of that crazy stuff. And I mean, there's other people too. Like, I mean, you see, old like football players from colleges and stuff that I've recognized, or like coaches, or like kind of your local celebrities. We have a lot of those, and it's cool to be able to meet those people and talk to them and do cool custom stuff for them. And that's one of my favorite things, is when somebody gets me like sometimes it's a pain in the butt, admittedly, but when somebody has a crazy idea, if they're willing to pay for it, then we'll do it for them.
Oh, sure.
It's a ton of fun because it breaks up the monotony of it a little bit, and it's you do stuff that you would never see really anywhere else, and that's one of the benefits of our business model too.
Do people where you're at, do they bring their own or no? Not so much.
Not
anymore.
Like I said, we used to do custom slaughter, and we could do pretty much anything for them. We don't see that quite as much. It's usually more they bring an idea to us,
and you just use your beef.
Yeah,
and then
right. Or one like last year, I had a ton of people asking for this. I don't know if you're familiar with a vacío.
No,
it's an Argentine cut. It's super popular because I mean Argentine beef culture is a big thing down
Oh yeah,
there.
that's
It's
why
right. It's a big thing down there, and
the
so
what's it called?
The
The
celebration.
no, but I mean like the Brazilian restaurants.
yeah,
also
same thing.
Oh,
Brazil,
yeah,
Brazil's
yeah,
big
yeah.
too. They're
Is
huge,
that-
they're beef people for sure, and that vacío cut is literally the whole flank of the animal that they just string up on a cross and roast over a pit. It's super cool, and I did a ton of those. And same thing. I would never do that. Like you would never have the opportunity to do that unless it was a
special
business model
request.
like us, right? And so, like I said, sometimes it's a little kind of a pain to do those kinds of things because I got to set aside certain time of day or certain pieces that I got to do. But it's a cool thing and it's fun it breaks up that monotony and allows you to kind of experiment a little. We've done some fun stuff on our own too. That's 13, 12 bone rib roasts, that just are crazy giant pieces of meat or things like that. So lots of fun.
That is cool though. Like just the amount of, I think there's a lot of jobs out there that are like, I show up, I do this thing, I do the same thing every day. My output is the same, and it's like a rinse and repeat, right? And it kind of gets really mundane. And then there's some jobs it's like it's different every single day, but it's nice to also kind of have those jobs where you have the stability where it's like, if I'm not having a great day, I know I could just go to work and get stuff done. But once in a while, having those custom experiences with really cool people in the community is kind of adds that flavor or that spice.
Yeah, it's good to have the consistency, but it's also good to have a little bit of variety. Like you come in and you do the same thing every day, but it's, you get opportunities to do things a little bit different. So it's been fun. I like experimenting with stuff. It's one of my favorite parts of what I do, actually.
That's cool. I was actually going to ask what was your favorite part of this job so far, but you just answered it.
That's that. I mean, it's a cool thing. Not a lot of people are doing it like what we do anymore. I mean, there's a lot of butchers, a lot of meat cutters, but kind of the model we follow it's a cool thing. And I enjoy it.
You said that there's also like an increase during the holiday. Is just that just because people consume more, or is that or?
Yeah, I mean, with the holidays, those are just big meat holidays: Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Those are we by far like sales wise. I don't know I can't tell you the exact numbers, but during Q4, we like way outpace any other time of year.
Yeah,
like it'll be, and it's a lot of like Christmas prime rib roasts, things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people love that kind of stuff for special. There's certain like specialty cuts that certain families do that are like traditional to like, if they're of like German heritage or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's there's a lot of people who do that kind of thing, and I ran into it at Harmon's as well, or where people want to during the holidays, people want to do things a little different. They want to make it special, and they're also willing to spend a little more money to do it. Like, I mean, for a lot of people, that's the time of year where you're able to splurge a little bit and put some money down for something cool and fun and different. So
that's so interesting because I always thought the summer months would be
for
like
barbecue.
for barbecuing. And
Father's
smoking.
Day and the 4th of July are big. Like, they're pretty steady, pretty consistent. Like, they're it's a lot of volume.
Yeah.
But it is a madhouse during Christmas. Like, that week leading up to Christmas, it's like 12, 13-hour days sometimes, 6 days a week. Maybe not quite that much.
But still, it's busy.
Some, it's busy, and I mean, it logistically, there's a lot of orders and like keeping track of who gets what and when this needs to be cut and things like that. It's busy, but it's fun because those days they're long, but you rip through them.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much work and you're getting so much done all day.
Do butchers get tipped? Can you guys work off of like tips?
It depends. So we have, the little square kiosk, ask,
Sure,
they're going to ask you a few questions. We have that option, but I think that's a place-to-place thing. I've had like some specialty stuff I've done for people where they'll tip you pretty well.
Yeah.
Because you go out of your way to do certain things for them or cut something a little different. And that's another thing I can do is if there's something on the shelf that you want, but you want it like trimmed up different, or you want, like a rack of short ribs split into thirds or whatever, like I can do that kind of thing for you where a lot of other places can't. And those are kind of where you see a few more tips and things like that. So I wouldn't say that's like an industry thing. It's more of if your workplace allows for it.
I feel like a butcher would be one of those jobs that warrant more of a tip. It's like, especially if you have requests of different cuts, it's like when the tip screen comes up for some to-go order at random restaurant, it's like, no, I'm not going to tip you. But like when it comes to a butcher, it's like you going out of your way to put your skill and expertise to get a certain cut and making sure that the meat is a good quality, and then that's what you provide. That's like, yeah.
Right. And I mean, I don't ever expect tips.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, I never expect it. Like if somebody wants to tip us and I sell them some steaks over the retail counter, I don't expect that. But I mean, it'd be more likely if I did like a specialty thing for you. Did something that takes a little more work, a little more planning. There's times where you take a couple of phone calls with a guy, making sure you get the right thing for him, or there's been times we bring them back into the cut room and show them a carcass and be like, hey, show me what you want. Because sometimes they don't do a very good job explaining it, just because it's not their fault. It's just a lack of knowledge, lack of understanding on their part. And so you'll just bring them back and they'll point out kind of what they're looking for, especially if they're from different countries, again, different backgrounds. They have different preferences, right? So
like language barriers, I'm sure also
that does happen. And I mean, we're fortunate to have a couple of bilingual folks in the shop, which is super helpful, but sometimes we can't figure it out. And so they visually got to show it. And between that and Google Translate, we can get it done usually. So that's cool. That's a fun thing to do too, especially, like people with immigrant backgrounds and things like that. That's, if I can get them a piece of meat they've not seen since however long when they were back,
where they came from or something.
Yeah. And like, there's been times where I've done stuff for guys or families and they are just over the moon. Like you just made their whole day because you were able to get something that nobody else can do for them.
Yeah. You can't go to the grocery store and get those cuts because they just don't do them.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. Like it makes me happy because I was able to do something like that for them that, reminds them of home or growing up or whatever it is, or something they've been looking for 6 months and they can't get anybody to do it.
Sure.
So it's, that's another fun part of the job too.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Or even considered that that's being the case. But maybe it's just because I'm sheltered and I don't only just eat the stuff off the counter because I'm boring. Maybe I need to be less boring.
Be less boring.
Come drop in. I'll give you a tour.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be cool. Getting a tour of the place.
I'm thinking about trying some of these Denvers. That's what I'm thinking.
We can do a follow up. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
So,
no, for sure.
I know we'll get you set up. I can show you around. And I mean, if you want to see slaughter stuff, we could maybe set something up. I mean, depends on what you want to see. But yeah. It's
I want to see some of that Wagyu and Denver's.
Tons of our stuff is. I mean, our breeding program's got a ton of the American Wagyu blood through it, and so I would. I don't know exact numbers, but I don't know if you're familiar with the USDA grading system.
No.
So when you go to the stores, they're gonna have stamps on it. Usually, it'll say most places, if they're good, will sell choice and prime grade. I think Costco, Harmon, Smith's, places like that. Like Walmart and your bigger. Like big retailers, they'll do more select grade stuff and then choice. So they just split them out. There's a lot of things that the USDA looks at to grade. The primary thing though is marbling in those money cuts. How they look, how marbled are they based on age and things like that. So prime is kind of your top grade stuff. That's what you spend more money on. Those are what people are buying during the holidays, things like that. Those are the crazy things you see on Instagram and TikTok, like the super fatty, nice steaks. I would venture to say that on any given week, probably 75% of our stuff would grade prime.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Like and we don't pay for the USDA grading because it's a lot of paperwork and it's really expensive.
Sure.
I mean, so we kind of have like our own little grading system we use, but all of our stuff, you're seeing the top half of choice and prime. The majority of our stuff is, and we're not. So, I mean, we keep pricing competitive. So some things you pay a little bit more at our place, but like, again, locally raised, high quality, and we keep it competitive in a lot of cuts.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, kind of a common misconception is people think, oh, well, it's like a premium meat producer that's going to be super, super expensive. And I mean, you can make it that way, but it's not really that much more than other places.
Yeah.
When if you want to compare straight across, I mean, we beat Walmart and Costco and certain things, and it kind of surprises people. But since there's no middleman for us, we can afford to kind of keep that tighter as well.
Right.
Yeah.
At least based on my understanding. I don't really work with the pricing stuff quite as much, but based on what I know, that's how it is. We can afford to do that and get a high quality product for a bit more of a reasonable price compared to what you'll spend elsewhere.
Reach on an hour here, or actually a little bit over. I think, is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel like we should touch on or talk about for someone of your role?
wanted to get into? Yeah.
You know, I think, look, I was talking about this with my wife last night, actually. Talking about like what I do and kind of how I got to where I am. I think if it's something you want to pursue, just pursue it. Go for it. Don't worry about what other people are going to think about you and like stereotypes or whatever that is, because it's not a super conventional career path. It really isn't. You know, it's not something we talked about. It's not something people think about. But like if I could go back and tell myself like one piece of advice, you know, a few years ago or, you know, however long ago, is just trust your gut, and it's something you love. So go do it.
Yeah.
Everything else will work out. Don't worry about, you know, the money or the hours or whatever it is, because for me, like I've found something that I love and I've found a way to make a good living doing it. And I mean, it's been so rewarding. You know, and so if anybody were thinking about doing it and you're interested in it, give it a shot. And if you like it, but you've got some doubts, just put them aside, trust the process, give yourself some time, and you'll learn everything you need to learn, and it'll work itself out.
Self-promo time. What, any call outs, social media accounts, where people can follow you, either your personal, where you work, or
if you have a project you're working on.
Yeah, any side projects.
I mean, my personal is just, it's Ethan Somerville on Instagram. You'll see me. Mosida Market, where I work, on Instagram, TikTok. Also the restaurant, it's Farmhouse Kitchen is what we're called. So you want to see any of that kind of info, you have any questions, we've got our website, just mosidamarket.com. Look that stuff up. We do all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested, we ship all over. So if you want product from us, we can get it to you for the most part. And if there's something special you want, just give us a call, drop in the store. We'll get you taken care of.
Sweet, love
Awesome.
it. I'll make sure to put all links and stuff down below in the description. Ethan, thanks again. I think this has been great.
Been a pleasure, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.